So as I mentioned in the previous tutorial, I was now going to cover the timeline area, which is this area here at the bottom. So if you haven't already done so, please import all of the media files from the wildlife folder. And you should know how to do that because I just showed you in the previous tutorial. And what I would like you to do first and foremost, if you really want to follow along, is just take one of these clips. So let's just go for the Zebra Video 2 clip here and click, hold and drag and pull it into the timeline. Now when you do this the first time, you may get this little pop-up show up asking if you want to keep the settings for your video clips or match the project settings. In this particular instance, I would just recommend that you click on the left-hand option. It should be a green highlighted button, and you will just keep the same settings for all of these clips. Now when you put a clip into the timeline, you may notice that this line above might be red. And if this line is red, basically it's just telling you that the clip needs to be rendered. So what happens if you don't render your clip? Well, what I could do is I can just move this red thing over to my clip here, and I'll press the space bar. And basically we get a preview of what this clip is. And if this line is in the red, you may find that the video clip doesn't play all that smoothly. So basically what we have to do is we have to select the clip and press enter on our keyboard. And actually, because this is green, I'm going to bring in a different video. So I'll bring in this deer video here. Okay, it's red, cool. So I'll select this clip here by clicking on it and I'll press enter. And you can see a little bit of magic happen there. And now we have this green line. So the clip should run nice and smoothly. Now, typically I don't render the clips unless I have a lot of clips in my timeline because my computer's quite fast anyway. But nonetheless, if it's quite slow, you could just select that clip or multiple clips if you wanted, like this, and press enter on your keyboard. Now, if enter doesn't work, what you can do is once again, just select the clip or however many clips you want to render. Come to File, and then come to Render Preview. Mine is grayed out at the moment because these two clips are already rendered, but basically this should be available for you to click. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this clip here and I'll press delete on my keyboard. Now this red thing that I've referred to as the red thing earlier on, this is actually called a timeline indicator. Now there's quite a few names out there for this tool, but I think the more common name is just the timeline indicator. So what I can do with this is I can move this over my clip, and let's say I wanted to, I don't know, separate this at around maybe the 7-second mark. So what I'll have to do is I'll just have to click, hold and drag and pull this to the far left so that the figures are more accurate. I'll move the timeline indicator onto the clip and I'm looking for around the 7-second mark. So that will do there. And what I can do is I can just click on this scissor icon here to split the clip. And you can also click on the icon here, which does the same thing. And there's also a keyboard shortcut, which is Control+B, which is the shortcut I usually use when I have a lot of cutting to do. But in this case, I'll just click on the scissor icon here. And as you can see, the clip has now been cut in that position. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of these clips by click, holding and dragging over them. And I'll bring them into the center just so you can get a clear view of them. And what I can do now is I can click on this clip and I'll click, hold and drag and pull it to the right. And if I really wanted to, I can select it and press delete. Now let's say later on down the line, if I really wanted to have this full clip restored, well, there's actually a few ways of doing this. I could, if I wanted to, just go get the original Zebra video clip and click, hold and drag and pull that back into the timeline once again. Or I could do this. I could get the original clip and just hover over the right-hand side edge of it and click, hold and drag to the right. And as you can see, the clip has now been fully restored to its full duration. So that's how that works. Now what I'll do is I'll just go get another clip here. So let's go for the giraffe clip. And as you can see, it needs to be rendered. So I'm going to select it and I'll press enter. Okay, so you'll notice when dealing with these clips, there seems to be this magnetic effect happening. So I'm click, holding and dragging this clip along and all of a sudden, it is attracted to the timeline indicator, and then I'll do it once again. I'll move it to the left, and as you can see, it quickly snaps to this other clip here. So this is a snapping feature, and basically to turn this on or off, you can just right click and disable it here. So I'll do that, but when it comes to doing this, it makes life a little bit more difficult because you kind of have to be really accurate when it comes to placing the clips on the timeline. So typically I like to keep it enabled. Now you'll notice that there's this space in between these two clips. And instead of having to click, hold, and drag and pull my clip over to the left here, if I wanted to get rid of that space, all I'd have to do is just select the space in between. So I'll click on the blank space, I'll hold down Shift, and I'll press Delete. And that will quickly get rid of that space there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select these clips and I'll pull them over to the left like this. And I'm going to go get a few more clips. So I'll get these 3 here. And I'll go and get the sunrise as well. And I think I've got 2 up here. In fact, I've got a picture here as well, which is a bit of a logo that I put together. Okay, so I've got quite a few clips in here. What I'll do is I'll just click, hold, and drag on this bar here and move to the right. And just to fill up the timeline even more, I'm going to drag in the zebra clip again, and also the giraffe clip. Now, as you are working in Filmora, you may find that it's quite hard to get this sort of bird's eye view of everything that's going on in the timeline. So basically you have to zoom out. Now, believe it or not, there's actually about 5 or 6 different methods of doing this. First and foremost, and I'd say this is probably one of the easiest things you can do, is just to click on the zoom to fit icon here, this icon here. And as you can see, we've quickly squeezed all of the video clips into the timeline so that we can see all of them in one go. So that's pretty handy. You also have this slider here that you can move to the right and to the left. And as you can see, I'm adjusting the zooming functionality of the timeline. And of course, you can just click on these buttons here as well. Another thing you can do, you can hold down Control and press plus or minus on your keyboard. You can also hold down Control and scroll forward and backwards on your mouse, like this. But one of the easier methods I find is just to hover over the top of the timeline here until you get this double arrow icon and click, hold, and drag and pull to the right, or you can pull to the left. I find this the easiest thing that I can do. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to show you in the timeline for now. Now, don't worry if you feel like, actually, I'm not going to remember all of this. As we go through the course, I'm going to keep revisiting these areas, and you should as well, because you'll probably be following along with the things I'm doing, and you will become more and more familiar with, I would say, almost all of the functionality that the timeline has to offer. So far you've learned some very critical steps. That is how to import your media into Filmora, and also general functionality when it comes to the timeline area. So far you've made a lot of progress, and just after the next few tutorials, you should have enough knowledge to create your own videos. Anyway, we'll move on to the next tutorial.